What's up, you guys? Samantha Zara here, and I wanted to go back to kind of the core of why we're even doing this. Video games. So I want to talk about some of the games that I've been playing since the start of the new year. The very first game I want to talk about is Sonic 2. That blue hedgehog has got to be the biggest troll of the 90s I've ever met in my life. Between the random spikes and the random deaths getting squished between blocks, this game is infuriating, and I understand they had to make this game so that kids couldn't just beat it in one sitting, and I get that we just need to learn the levels, but holy crap, if Sonic is not the freaking troll of the 90s, I don't know who is. This game is one of those ones where you have to play it from beginning to end, and you do get a couple of continues. I've only made it to the last level once, and that was with no continues and one life, so I died. So I haven't beaten it yet, but I've been playing it. The colors are vibrant. The platforming is interesting. I was playing this game all wrong back in the, when I was playing it when I was a kid. They said go fast, so I wanted to go fast. I wasn't platforming like you were supposed to. This game is a platformer, but you wouldn't know that by looking at it. So now that I know that it's a platformer, I can get through the majority of the game pretty easily, minus like the end levels. I'm learning them as I go. The boss in the casino level, I hate that one. It's very possible I might lose 1 to 2 lives right there. And then when I finally get to the tail end levels, that's where I struggle a little bit. And then the freaking levels where if you fall into the water, you're basically screwed. You have to get the air bubbles. I think even one time I was it almost felt like I was soft locked, where I had to spin onto a pillar, but he would just go past it, and I ended up timing out, which is 10 minutes if you didn't know. So this game has been fun and infuriating, all in the same movement. A little while ago, I made a video about the backlog, and I kind of broke my own rules by buying a fully priced game that I wasn't planning on playing on day one. Now, I didn't get it on day one, I got it a little bit afterwards, a little after my birthday in January, but Mario Wonder is a game that I've dabbled a little bit at the beginning. The levels are very, really vibrant. There's the joke about how you're basically going on an acid trip, which I totally understand where people are coming from. You have the new elephant upgrade, which is growing on me. It's not my favorite, it's not bad, but the game is brimming with personality and character. This is one of those examples where Nintendo has taken a chance on something again and it's paid off. Mildly reminds me of Mario Sunshine, not in the gameplay, but kind of the risk they took at making a Mario a little bit different than what we were used to. And sometimes they win and sometimes they don't. And I think with Mario Wonder, they really did hit the nail on the head. And I think that the creativity and the character really shine through on the screen. And the uniqueness of the levels is enough to want you to go and collect what you need to collect and replay the levels as you're learning the different things, because the level sometimes is not always forgiving and you do have to go through it again because you messed up the first time. And honestly, personally, I'm not that mad about it. It's kind of fun to learn as you go and then go back and try again. If we're being perfectly honest, this game will probably be on my list of games I'm playing for the rest of the year, because this is not a game I plan on just sitting down and playing, because it could easily take up 200 to 300 hours of my time. The Witcher 3, I mentioned how I kind of dreaded that I started it because it's such a long game, but this game is popular for a reason. I'm pretty sure it even won Game of the Year. The Witcher 3 is brimming with content. Side quests that are not actually boring, that are not tedious. You know, the main storyline is interesting enough that you want to be invested in it. There's all of these different just things that you can discover on the map, and then the combat functions differently than what I'm personally used to, where you actually have to read about the thing that you're fighting and what they're weak against, because ultimately you're not going to do well in the game, and ultimately you might not even do any damage unless you know exactly what you need to put on your sword or what exactly you need to do to beat the person. So that's really interesting because the game really makes you think. It limits how much you can carry, and like I said, the side stories are almost more fun than the main story just because they're so interesting and you want to discover all of the things on the map that you could do, and then it's got the DLCs. I've got all of them, so this game's gonna take me forever, but it's been a lot of fun playing. This next one has been a surprise to me, and it was on my list of games I want to play in 2024. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. I have actually been putting some hours into this one. I'm about 10 hours in. From what I read, I think this game is like 30 to 40 hours. So I'm not there yet, but I think I've put enough time in that I can form my opinion about it. Now, what's really interesting is the very beginning intro reminds me a lot of my Japanese copy of Dragon Ball Z Budokai, and the game also kind of follows the storyline of Budokai, so this game feels like if the series and Dragon Ball Z Budokai form together, that's what this game is. It's almost like this perfect, not remake, not remaster, but this perfect union of the two where you get to experience the series through gameplay in a way that is visually beautiful, but also interesting, and the voice acting is really good too. So this game's been really fun to play. I would say that the animation style gets a little, you have to get used to it a little bit. The side stories are very lackluster so far. They're very boring. They're very easy. There's not a lot of meat to the bone when it comes to the side story. It's really the main story that's going to keep you going. But you want to get those experience points because you want to be able to level up. The fights are interesting enough. I really like the controls and the movements, the dodging, the different special abilities. I think the way they laid out the buttons on the controller really works well when you're in combat. You don't have to think too terribly hard about it and like try to figure out what you're doing. So that made it really fun. And then you also get to play as different characters as you go through the story. So you can be Goku, then you're Gohan, then you're Piccolo. And so that keeps the story pretty fresh because you're constantly seeing the same story from a bunch of different characters' perspectives. Now, I watched Dragon Ball Z on Cartoon Network when I was a kid, so I do have a little bit of an investment in this franchise. I'm not like a hardcore fan. I'd be curious to hear if anyone who is not a Dragon Ball Z fan has played this game and if they would recommend others to play, because I think if you like Dragon Ball Z even only a little, this game's actually really entertaining and it's been really fun to watch the main story. So let me know in the comments down below. I think Fem Trooper said that she played through this game without being a fan and it made her a fan, so I think this game would be fun to play all around, and you can get it for like dirt cheap. Recently, I've asked Jen from Retro Rivals to play Fable 2, and while I was thinking about it, I was like, you know, I hope she likes this game as much as I did, and hopefully I don't have like nostalgia goggles. Then I got really thinking about the Fable franchise, and got me thinking about Fable 3, and I was like, I've only played through that game once. I remember not liking it, and I remember a lot of people having a lot of issues with it. So I wanted to replay Fable 3 to experience it again for myself to see if it really was as bad as I remember. Now, this game, so far, almost feels like an extended DLC to Fable 2. It's pretty much the same graphics, it's pretty much the same formula. The side jobs that you can do are a little more boring with the block features versus the strike feature with the swinging like pendulum. The level up system is kind of weird. You have to walk through this like gated like path and open up chests, but you usually don't have enough experience points to like open all of them. At first that was really annoying. It's growing on me a little bit. I can see why this game didn't do as well because it definitely feels lesser than. I'm probably going to play it through to completion. I remember the first time I played this game, I had to leave my Xbox on to earn money to keep all of my promises at the end, because the whole premise of this game is that you're basically trying to fix the kingdom because your brother or sister is like this evil dictator king or queen, and you basically have to go out and fix it. So you have to go out and you have to gather an army, but to do that you basically have to promise all these people that you're going to fix their area, which costs a lot of money, and you have no options. You have to do these promises, and at the end of the game, if you're going to be evil, you can just tell them all to screw off. But this I think I understand why people didn't like it. If you played Fable 3, tell me in the comments down below what you guys remember about it or what you thought about it, or do you think it just got a bad rap? And last but not least, Jen from Retro Rivals. I asked her to play Fable 2, and in return, she asked me to play Alice Madness Returns, which I suspect might be one of her all-time favorite games of all time, if not her favorite. She did a very long, extensive, in-depth amazing review on this game. You should definitely check that out after this if you haven't seen it. Alice Madness Returns is kind of like this Tim Burton meets Alice meets Nightmare Fuel. This game's creepy, not in the sense of scary, but aesthetically, you got these really messed up monsters and these messed up people with like stitched up faces and body parts, and the monsters are all like doll faces connected to these like blobs who are trying to kill you with like knives. You play as Alice, and the whole premise is that your family has died in a fire, and I think at the beginning of the game it's pretty easy to suspect particular things about who may have been responsible for it. And the whole premise is that she has already gone mad before. She is in this like orphan area where she's under the care of like a psychiatrist, and slowly she starts losing her mind again. So she is returning to her madness. And so when she blips in and out of reality, when she goes back to Wonderland, things are falling apart because her mind is. There's a train that you're trying to stop and everything is falling apart into shambles because her mind is. And it's your job to make it through this game and collect memories and try to figure out what exactly happened, because at this point you're basically suppressing what has happened because this terrible fire with your family has messed you up so bad that your brain is broken. This game can be very repetitive. Like, very. It's a lot of the same mechanics. You have the bunny. It can blow up after a timer. You put it on the thing, you hop on the platforms, or you shoot the thing. A lot of the same bad guys. It's not till later on in the game until you start meeting different types of characters to learn how to fight. The combat's pretty fun. You can pretty much work your way through this game fairly easy. Some of the chapters feel really long, and some of them not so much. Personally, I think this game really starts to shine in the later chapters, like the last few. It was around the time where I was in like a Japanese themed, trying to find the caterpillar guy. That is when the game really started to vibe for me. But I'm also not the person to tell you to invest hours into a game to get to the good part. So for me, it was the end levels I really enjoyed the most. But if you're gonna play this game, you're gonna be playing it for the story, not so much the gameplay. Like I said, the gameplay can be pretty repetitive. There's a little bit of puzzle aspect to it, but it's really for the story. So if you're like an Alice fan, or you like things that are like a little bit on that like creepy side, not scary, but just like that creepy vibe, you might like this game. Like I said, you should watch Jen's review, but ultimately for me, it did feel repetitive. I did beat this game, so this was my first game I beat in 2024. If you guys have played Alice, do you agree with me? Do you think it was repetitive? Do you think it's worth playing through for the story alone? Don't spoil the ending, but I mean, that was pretty unexpected. I did want it to be a little bit more violent. So those are the games I've been playing so far in 2024. What did you think of my list? What have you guys been playing? Are you guys playing anything that's like blown your mind, or something that you just grabbed randomly and you think it's like now a hidden gem? Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the games that I'm playing, maybe some of my opinions, but also please let me know what you're playing. I'd be really interested to hear, and I love interacting with you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget, there's a pixelated world waiting out there for you.